Let's switch attention now to other issues. 13 days after the release of the newly redesigned 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira notes, and with 34 days before the old note will no longer be legal tender in the country, automated teller machines in Lagos are yet to commence dispensing the new note. Findings show that most ATMs during the holidays are still dispensing the old note, and this is as the bank customers lamented that they are yet to start seeing the new note. Now, following the announcement by the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to redesign the higher denominations of the Naira, December 15, 2022 had been announced as the release date. The CBN had also set a deadline of January 31, 2023 for all the old 200, 500 and 1000 naira notes to be returned to the banks, after which they will cease to be legal tender. It had also set January 9, 2023 as the commencement date for the implementation of the cashless policy. Now, for further analysis on this, we have joining us Mr. Kasim Garba Karafi. He is MD CEO, APT Securities and Funds Limited. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Karafi. Mr. Karafi, can you hear me? Good to have you on the show. All right, we would definitely link up with Mr. Karafi and begin the conversation. We'll be right back. Mr. Kasim Garba Karafi joins us now to analyze this issue on the new Naira note circulation in the economy. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Karafi.
Thank you for having me.
Well, findings have shown that most ATMs during the holidays are still dispensing the old notes. Even currently, bank customers are lamenting that they are yet to start seeing the new notes. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, to me, I think that CBN is not ready for these transactions because this is Lagos. Almost 99% of the bank's headquarters are here in Lagos, particularly Broad Street and Marina. Go to the bank, withdraw any amount, you will get an old note. If banks are distributing old notes to date, how comes you can stop the old note by 31st January? It's not possible.
Well,
I expect the CBN to start just holding every old note that entered the bank that come to an end, but now that is not the case. If you go to any bank, not ATM, enter any bank, you will get the same old notes for withdrawal.
Well, you say it appears that the CBN isn't ready for this policy or this change. What do you think should have been in place before all of this was announced?
First and foremost, that CBN should have contact. There is very few machinery that can produce currency, not all over the world. We all know them. Today, both Lagos and Abuja doesn't have the capacity within that period to produce new note. Even if they stop all other production, they only concentrated on the Naira, they cannot produce about 3 trillion notes of Nigerian currency. They don't have that capacity. And I do not envisage any much.
All right, that's Mr. Kasim Garba Karafi talking to us about the skirmishes or the bottlenecks facing the circulation of the new Naira note as postulated by the CBN, talking about how the CBN has redesigned the 200, 500 and 1000 Naira note. Welcome back, Mr. Karafi.
Yes, the truth of the matter that they did not produce enough and they don't have enough, and that is why they couldn't distribute it to the various banks' headquarters. If here in Lagos you cannot get it.
Okay, network isn't.
So generally, enough currency, that is why they couldn't distribute to the bank's headquarters, and therefore the bank cannot even satisfy Lagos, talk less of outside Lagos. So it will just become a mirage for you to get a new currency. And if this continue, there is no way they can stop the circulation of the old currency.
Apparently, it's looking very, very impossible when you look at the deadline that the CBN has placed for January 31, 2023, saying that they want the old notes to cease to be in circulation as at that time. But we'll look at all of these issues. How feasible is it? Welcome back, Mr. Karafi.
Yes.
You just touched on a very sensitive issue, the fact that there is a deadline in place for the 31st of January for the old notes to be in circulation. But we also know that the Senate is calling for an extension, saying that they want it to be extended till June. Do you see the CBN yielding to this?
Well, they may, because this is a democracy government, and you must listen to the wishes of the people, and you cannot make people poor to discontinue with the currency when there is no alternative. Otherwise, you are giving room for fake currency, because when the genuine ones are not available, the fake will be available. And we have to be very careful and guided against the fake currency. So the only alternative for the CBN is to extend the time until such a time they have enough currency, give to the bank for distribution.
Well, you just mentioned the fake notes, which we know that a lot of Nigerians have also been talking about, that the fake notes are already in circulation. Even as at 3 days after the release, that was after the December 15 release of the new note, we were already hearing news of fake notes in circulation. What do you think is responsible for that? Is it as a result of the fact that they don't produce as much as they should, or could it be that some security measures, enough security measures weren't put in place?
Well, I don't think so, because currency is not like just ordinary paper. Globally, currency have security inbuilt in them, and they cannot export all the security in the currency, because that will make sure that only the genuine ones circulate. However, if you want to withdraw the old note, you must make alternative available. The alternative is electronic transfer or hard currency. For currency, they don't have new. More than 70% of the Nigerians are not banks.
Mr. Kalfide,
across the state, they have less than 2% of their banks account. So what do you do with the 98%? And remember that the 98% of the people are still using currency. So the only alternative not
some unfriendly network there, but a very interesting conversation, especially looking at the take of Nigerians as regards the newly released NAIRA notes. What exactly does it portend for the economy, especially seeing that a lot of Nigerians haven't been able to lay their hands on it. Banks do not have it, ATMs do not have it.
The old currency. That is why if you look at the developed economy, such as they hardly mention withdrawal of the old currency and give it a deadline. They don't do that, because for the economy to prosper, money must be in circulation. So you cannot retard your economy because you don't want all currency to be in circulation. It's only the developed country that come with the deadline like this. And I hope they will listen and allow the old note to continue in circulation until such a time they have enough.
So what would you propose? Are you saying the time should be extended like the Senate is saying, or are you saying that there shouldn't have been a redesign in the first place?
Well, they have gone with the redesign, which add little to the economy. But since they went to withdraw the old note, they should give ample time and enough time for the economy to prosper. Remember, most of our economy is coming from the rural area where there is no banks. So the only currency that is circulation is the currency at hand. So until such a time you replace those old currency, allow the economy to prosper, because there is no economy without money in circulation. And allow that one until such a time that we are satisfied, we move the most of the currency before you ban it.
Well, some people believe that the fact that these notes are not in circulation would create a market of some sort, as Nigerians would want to lay their hands on the new notes. And of course, that's why we're seeing the fake notes. But also we saw the CBN release some features, security features that the new NAIRA notes have, so that Nigerians can identify the notes. Do you think that is enough to mitigate against the, counterfeiting of the notes?
That is not good enough. In the first instance, the features they identify is not visible by naked eye. You need a machine to dictate them. Even here in Lagos, where we look at banks, how many of us have the machine to dictate the fake currency? Talk less of the rural area, where there is no light, no electricity, no machine to even dictate it. So the truth of the matter that those features can only be dictated if you take the currency back to the bank. And with this restriction of the money out of the bank, most of the money will continue to be in circulation without coming back to the bank, and therefore it gives the room for the fake currency to continue in circulation. Because people will fear to bring their money to the bank, where there will be restriction of the amount to withdraw.
But do you also see this affecting, because one of the reasons the CBN gave for this whole policy is because of the elections. They're saying they don't want the 2023 elections to be highly monetized. Now that the whole policy is encountering a lot of bottlenecks and it's not looking as if it's as effective as predicted, do you see them achieving all of those goals?
No, because if you look at, you know how the primary election took place for the major parties. Did you heard of circulation NAIRA? It was US dollar. So the politicians have their means and way of circumventing those situations. If the NAIRA is not available, the other currency of the other foreign currency, which is more valuable, will be in circulation. Remember, Nigeria has bordering with the French franc countries. And we know that their money is in circulation, no restriction. So if you go to all the states that is across the border, Katsina, Sokoto, Borno, Maiduguri, Akwa Ibom, most of them you will see that they collect French currency. So therefore, if the NAIRA is not available, the French currency will be in circulation. And even here in Lagos, if you give me dollar, I will collect it. So also to the others. And they have the dollar. The politicians have the dollar. So using the NAIRA designing to stop the NAIRA currency is not at all.
And that would further worsen the forex crisis the country is facing, wouldn't it?
It may, but I can assure you that the politicians have already piled their dollars. So when it comes to the election, you will see it in circulation. We remember the primary election of both the major parties. Dollar was in circulation, but it did not worsen the exchange rate.
So what are your predictions, especially looking at the fact that now that the policy isn't flying? What are your predictions, especially as the highly monetized elections we've seen in the past?
This will come to pass, and there is no way, because the major party have the capacity and the ability to use money. That is one. Two, CBN just redesigned this for some people to make money, because there will be contract for reprinting this currency. There is contract for distributing of this currency, and somebody has to make money, which is uncalled for. Remember, even the CBN said that in the month of September, over 32 trillion transaction was done electronic. So why should you bother with 2.7 trillion in circulation when more than 90% of the transaction is done electronic? So the question of redesigning, withdrawing the old currency is all just mere say as a cover-up.
Okay, well, we also had issues with a lot of Nigerians rejecting, those who had access to it. We had, reports of them rejecting the note. What are your thoughts on that?
You see, the CBN failed to educate the people. There is no way you will change the currency without printing them in circulation and going around with all the color ones so that people to understand them. As I'm talking to you, I have not touched a single currency exchange. from the day they say that they have opened it 15 December to date. And I'm living in Lagos, and every day I exchange money, I go to the bank, withdraw money. I have not seen one, I have not exchanged one. As elite as am I, talk less of those who did not even go to school. And who are the majority? So rejecting the new currency is not anything new, because there wasn't any publication, there wasn't any education and enlightenment as regard to redesign currency. And that is wrong. I remember in the 1972, when the NAIRA was exchanged, almost all the musicians were invited and they make a song as regard to the exchange of a currency. Today, have you heard any musician talking about the redesigning? No. Have you seen it even in the television displaying it, try to educate the people? The answer is no. So CBN have not done their work.
Well, this is where we are now. What do you suggest as the way forward, especially for the coming days?
What I suggest is the CBN should forget that, try to reduce the monetization of the election. They should continue with the redesigned currency, exchanging vis-a-vis with the old one until such a time they are satisfied that 90 to 95% have come to the bank. Therefore, they can put a deadline. Not now. French, New York, US, Japan, they change their currency. They don't give deadline.
Okay. All right. I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time on the show, Mr. Kasim Garba Karafi, MD CEO, APT Securities and Funds Limited. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the year. All right, still to come after the break, Brent crude futures rose 20 cents or 0.2% to $83.66 a barrel in early trade after settling 1.2% down in the previous session. We'll bring you details in a moment. We'll be right back.